I swear it feels like I've only been talking about mainstream blockbusters, but no more, bitch! Robert the Eggman Eggers is here to bless us with The Northman. So The Northman was one of my most anticipated movies of the year easily. The Lighthouse is not only one of my favorite horror movies, it might be one of my favorite films in general, and The Witch is also one of my favorite horror movies. I love this man's style. He's a guy who so clearly loves what he does and is so passionate about the types of films that he makes. He's a director who's not afraid to go as unhinged as possible and does not give a fuck about what people think. So I went and saw The Northman as early as I could. I also got a t-shirt, here's photo evidence, and I thought it was really good, but that's kind of where it stands. For as much as I was looking forward to this movie, I was also very worried because Robert Eggers described this as a nightmare to edit and he wouldn't work with a major studio ever again. Now for the most part, I would say the editing is pretty great, but there are some scenes where it's apparent that studios got in the way, particularly with the sound mixing. Unfortunately, the music for the film, while it is really good, is so fucking loud and overbearing. Maybe it was just my theater, but the music felt so distracting because it was just too loud for its own good. And it's kind of disappointing to say because Eggers is someone who works very closely with the sound design. The Lighthouse has some of the best sound design I've ever heard in a movie, and it makes sense as to why it's loud. Here, they just wanted it to be more epic, I guess? The action set pieces, in my opinion, were the absolute best parts of the movie. Robert Eggers goes completely unhinged with the brutality of the movie. Every single hit in this movie feels so real and painful. And what surprised me about this movie was just how disgusting it actually was. And yes, I mean that in a good way. There aren't just limbs flying everywhere, people have their intestines and other body parts flying everywhere. The atmosphere of the whole film feels so unclean and ruthless, so the film does a great job getting some kind of emotional and physical response out of you. I don't think I've ever shouted, "Oh Jesus," as much in a theater than I did with this. The performances too are absolutely stellar. Alexander Skarsgård in particular turns into a fucking animal. This dude does so much for this role, and he completely owns it, and it feels so realistic. I don't know how he pulled it off as well as he did. Nicole Kidman too is really great. She has a really great, unnerving scene with Skarsgård, which, well, see for yourself. Anyway, this movie genuinely has so much it does right, but unfortunately there are quite a few things that did bother me. For one, this story is something we've seen a million times before, and honestly I'm sick of it. Eggers tries to do something new with it, I'll give credit where credit is due, but it didn't really feel much more special to me. In fact, it started to feel a little convoluted than anything. It's honestly kind of hard to follow, and I know that's kind of typical Eggers at this point, but after a while it just starts dragging, and I honestly kept asking myself where they were going with this, especially in the second act where the film just halts. While I applauded the brutality of the film, I'm not gonna sit here and act like this didn't feel a little too goofy. Whether it was intentional or not, there were moments that definitely felt like it was meant to just get some kind of emotional reaction out of you, and honestly, I was just laughing. Like, it's never unintentionally bad, it's just really weird decisions that happen out of nowhere that just felt really goofy. Maybe this is just me, but I felt like there wasn't really much reason for me to care about some of the characters, and again, they're not awful, there just really isn't enough development there. And I want to feel emotionally invested in them, but I feel like all the effort went into making sure the movie looked as good and authentic as possible, rather than giving much development for these characters. In particular, I didn't really feel the chemistry with Anya Taylor-Joy and Alexander Skarsgård's relationship. It kind of felt forced. I also feel like I didn't care much about the main antagonist, Fjolnir, or his oldest son. The ending, honestly, I think ruined the movie for me, and I feel like it's going to be the same for a lot of people. It felt very abrupt and unsatisfying. The whole movie leads to this ending only for it to feel so rushed, and the actual duel not being lit well at all. It kind of looked like ass. I could barely understand what was going on. Anyway, despite my problems, I do really like this movie and I want to see it again. I'm just disappointed that I didn't love it. It has the Robert Eggers fingerprints all over it, but for some parts I can tell that the studio didn't give him much control. I feel like this should have been an A24 movie, I don't know. Anyway, I do like the movie, go check it out if you want. Thank you guys as always for watching. Here are my socials if you want to connect with me, and don't forget to like and subscribe. And lastly, I just want to shout out these two. I saw the movie with one of my very good online friends, Sydney Volpe, who you know on YouTube, TikTok, and basically every social media platform, and Kayla Marie, who's on Twitter. Their links will be in the description. Listen, these two are wonderful people, and I'm so glad I got to finally hang out with them, and I'm so happy I get to call them my friends. Getting to hang out with them was something that I truly needed, and they deserve all your support. Seeing them was easily the best part of the movie. Oh yeah, the Northman was also good. Alright, bye-bye.
And that's the end.